Hey guys, sorry, this is not typical of my videos. I don't mean to be filming like this. Unfortunately, the intro part of my video that I'm about to do here, it got deleted. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it ran out of space, something happened, but nothing recorded, unfortunately, for the intro of this video. So I just wanted to explain things going in. The rest of the video seems to be fine, but the first little part of it, I don't think we're missing much. But I was showing off, I'm doing a refurbish of the Pokemon Pinball, and the intro was just showing off the cartridge, how it looked before I go inside of it, and how nasty it looks on the outside, and just describing where and how I got it. I got it like 15 years ago. I paid $3 for it. I got it in Arizona. Nothing really major. It was just a couple minutes. So because of that, I'm making this real quick to throw in before I start the meat and the potatoes of the video. All right, so thanks a lot, and enjoy the rest of the video. See you. So taking this apart is fairly simple. And like most Game Boy cartridges, this actually has two security bit screws. So we're going to use a security bit screwdriver, and we're going to pop these off. Sorry for the bad camera view. I mean, all I'm doing is taking these screws out. It's nothing exciting. And there's one, and there's two. So one needs a little more help, I guess. It's funny because it feels loose, but they don't pop out right away. And much like Game Boy cartridges, you tend to have to slide these down. The only thing is, in this case, you got this battery section for a AA battery, this little compartment that gives the game its rumble. All right, and we're going to lift this up slightly down here. It's been a while, so bear with me. And we're going to slide it downward. Now be careful, because as you can see, the board is coming with it, because these battery terminals are kind of sort of stuck, kind of not. And there is a little rumble with some wiring in there, so you don't want to disassemble and disattach them, or otherwise you're going to have to mess around with it. But yeah, the AA battery will feed the rumble up here. This little thing spins around when you bump the ball around in Pokemon Pinball. As you can see, these pins, they're okay, but they're not the greatest. We're going to shine them up a little more with the tried and true method I like to use. You can kind of see it right from this angle here. Looking a little gross. The battery is a 1616. Okay, so we're gonna take that battery out first, and we're gonna take this out here first. Let's see if we can get this, pop this out of here very carefully. I don't want to have to resolder this back on, but I want to get it away from the plastic. I don't want to be soldering around the plastic of the case housing here. And see, that's kind of nasty in there. We're going to clean that all up. We'll get to that after we're done with this, though. So first things first, we're going to take this battery off and put a new battery on. We got a whole mess of these things laying around. So I'm going to warm up the soldering iron here. This is a pretty quick job. Overall, the board doesn't look too bad. It just needs some cleaning. And obviously the next step is to get everything back into the case when we're done. So we're going to try to less is more in moving things around. But this should just pop right off. All right, so that's getting warmed up. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a little flux here. Just kind of, that barely even looks like it's got anything in it. We're going to clean that all up. And the other side. There you go. Off. I ain't no expert solderer here, okay? I'm not a pro. I'm still learning as I go, but I know enough to do these simple jobs. Let's see if we can get a little more of this off here. Looks pretty good. Alright, now we're going to get some, let's see here, clean this up a little bit. Get a little nice profile in there. Pretty good. All right. So now we're going to take our new battery. Now, one thing I haven't shown on the camera here is I did test this battery in the past, and I knew it was already low going in. Normally, these batteries and a Game Boy battery should be around 3.14, and this was at like I think a 2.89 or something. So normally anything below like a 3 is on its way out. In a game like Pokemon Pinball, you don't want to be stuck with a big Pokedex of Pokemon that you've caught and lose the battery too soon. So, and also it was easy to tell because the data was missing. Nothing was on there. I mean, no previous save games were on there at this point. So I figured that was a pretty easy way to tell. I'll put a little more flux on here. And we're just going to tin up these. This is how long I've had this. It's got a Radio Shack logo on it. I think I've had this solder for, I don't know, God only knows how long. You don't want a lot, just enough to fill the contacts enough that you can get the battery under there. I always try to do less is more. So now we're going to take the battery and we're going to pop it in there. This is the negative terminal down here. You can see the negative and you can see positive over there. So with these batteries here, you got the positive over here. Okay, that means it's coming out of this one here. So you're going to want the positive up here on this and then the negative like so on there. Okay, so we're just going to try to slot this on top. And heat it on. Actually, let's move that over a little more. me try a different angle. That's the problem with doing this. I'm not used to soldering on the camera, to be honest with you. There you go. That should do it. Okay. Rid of the old battery. All right, so with the battery out of the way, we are now going to move on to kind of cleaning up the board a little bit. But the big thing I want to focus on, these pins, because the board doesn't look too bad. You got some kind of gross looking flux under there. So I'm actually just going to take some more isopropyl and try to clean that up a little bit around the battery contacts to see if we can get some of the excess old flux out of the way. There you go. See how nice and clean that came up? That was crap. There you go. And I'm also going to clean up around where I was just messing around. Let's get this a little cleaned up a little bit. Looks pretty good, right? Yeah, overall the board's not too bad shape. Let's do the back a little bit. I just like to give it a quick rub over, especially along the bottom here. Get some of this yuck off. So first, I'm just going to start with some of this IPA. I'm going to run it back and forth over these pins rather, the bottom of the board. This is obviously where the Game Boy makes the connection with the cartridge. So for the first step, I usually like to do a little just rubbing back and forth with some of this. And then what I like to do is I come in with a hard plastic eraser and give that a little back and forth here. Usually in circular motions. Helps get up some of the deep down stuff. And what we'll do is go back over that again with one of these. All right, I think that looks pretty decent. Okay, on to the shell itself. Let's get that all nice and cleaned up. I think we're done inside here. I guess we could maybe touch up the terminals a little bit while we're at it, right? I think they look pretty decent. Yeah, I think that's about it. All right, so for the next step, let's get the shell out and get that all nice and cleaned up as well. Okay, so moving on with the shell, we have the front half and the back right here. It's kind of nasty in there. I did have this big white sticker on the back. I kind of just rudimentally went along and peeled off what I could. I didn't want to bore everybody with the subject of pulling a price tag off this thing. But there really wasn't much to it. I put a little bit of alcohol in there and just kind of picked at it, and it got the most of it off here. And but I figured I'd save the last little bit and do on here for the grace of time. So for the rest of this, I'm going to go and I'm going to do one more little dab of alcohol. I don't want to overdo it, but you know, because stuff eats at the plastic, but it still has some residue left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and actually I got quite a bit of it off now. It looks pretty good. But for that last little bit, I'm going to take, I don't normally use this too often, but when you get some really solid adhesive that is just a bugger to get off, I'm going to get a little bit of WD-40, not a lot, just a tiny bit. And I'm going to put it, just a dash of it on the tip of my Q-tip here. Just a little bit. Tiny amount, because this stuff is just annoying as anything. And I'm going to mix that in there. See if we can get this last little bit off here. It should eat through the last remaining piece of residue handily once it's mixed in there. That's a little better. And now what I'm going to do is take end of a rag, microfiber rag here. Actually, yeah, I think I'll use this for now. I'm just going to put a little bit more alcohol in there. And I'm going to clean up the WD-40. Get that all worked over. And there you have it. Can't even tell it was there. Came out really nice. This is mostly scratches. So, and the one thing drives me crazy about WD-40 is, you know, sometimes you get that bit of a smell. So that's why I like to make sure I try to get off as much of it as I can. I don't want it stinking up my devices when I insert it into a Game Boy. All right, so from there, we're moving on to the main case itself. We also have to take this guy off, huh? Almost forgot about that. So let's just start going with this a little bit. And I'll probably use the same method. I'm just going to have to soak it up, peel it off. But let's see if we can clean up some of this side first. I take a toothbrush, and I love this stuff here. This is some dollar store glass cleaner, and unfortunately they don't make it anymore. But this stuff's amazing for consoles. I use it for all my consoles, and my brother said he used something similar at. He used to work at the casino, and he would use it to clean off their boards and stuff. And I don't know what it is, but I think this stuff's amazing for consoles. It's just, it cleans stuff up so nice. So I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to scrub this down real quick with this. I mean, it's just a small cartridge after all. There's no really, I don't see any reason for going in and dunking the thing full on, you know. I knew some crud was in there with the word rumble earlier. I'm hoping I can get it out. I don't know if it's paint or dirt or scratch. But in the B here, there was like a nasty thing going on there. I'm just going to get in all the grooves and all the little areas. Normally I do this with some rubber gloves, but I don't really have any gloves handy. And it's just some basic spray. It's nothing crazy. It's not any hardcore. I mean, it's just glass cleaner. It's not like any hardcore chemicals or anything like that. So let that one dry. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to work on this Pokemon Pinball sticker now and see if we can get that off. And I'll start it. I'm going to keep everybody in wait with the... it's going to just come right off. Look, it's already feeding through there. It's so disgusting. I'm going to let that soak a bit. And then I'm going to start peeling it off. And yeah, I'll be back in a second. All right, so like I said, be back in a second. And here we are. We have it nice and cleaned off. And now I'm going to scrub this one down. I think, unfortunately, a lot of this, what looks like dirt, is just, you know, beat up shell. It's not really coming off too much. So I don't think there's really much I can do about it. I'm going to go and now do the other side. I'm just going to put a little bit more of this foam wash that I like to use on my bigger consoles and just give this a quick little scrub now. A little carried away. All right. That's a new can, man. So that pressure is hyped. All right, let's see. Let's get in here a little bit. It dries fairly quick too, which is great. I typically like to clean off my systems and games before I put them in a new system. Like my cartridges, before I put them in a system, I like to make sure they're all nice and cleaned off. You don't know where they've been, whether systems they've been in. You don't want to cause any issues with dirt getting in your pins and especially in your consoles, in the reading part of it. So, all right, it looks pretty good, I think. And we'll do this side again real quick a little bit. So, I'm actually going to take just a little bit of isopropyl. I can go on the bottom of this a little bit. And it's pretty clean, so I think we got the job done. All right. So I'll dry it off here. Just give this thing a little lease on life, maybe. Hopefully everything works out. We'll have a new used game. So that looks pretty good in there. All right. So now's the fun part. We are going to put this back, put the board and screws back in here. We're going to get this all back together, seal it up. Let's see, zoom in a little bit here. All right. Lay that in here. And that just goes right over the grooves here. You got the screw grooves that kind of hold it into place. And then I believe since we shifted it up, so you kind of got these little hooks here. One here and one here. These little tabs. And they rest underneath here. So you can't just kind of close it down right away. You kind of have to do like a little up and in kind of motion to snap it together. It already looks better. I mean, this unfortunately is just wear and tear. And it's not quite as noticeable under the, I mean, it's really noticeable rather under these bright lights. But if you're just holding it like, in a regular environment, I don't think you're really going to notice much. I don't know if this is dirt in here or not. I'm going to go in there with this. See if we can. It's right in the letters. There's like some kind of debris or something. Yeah, it might be a scratch. You can see it right there. I don't think you can do anything about it. But the thing is, this is black and a black case, and that's some kind of white. And that makes me think that this is black mold. This isn't, or molded black plastic. This isn't, it's not like there should be white under it, Here, I think I got it, actually. That looks pretty good now. It was driving me crazy. Yeah, there you go. Looks pretty good. All right. So let's screw this back together. Actually, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to try to clean off the tips of these screws a little bit. So you get some of the dirt off them. And let's try doing this one. And sorry for the camera angles, man. It's not easy to screw stuff in with a good camera angle, I guess. Don't make them too tight. I mean, it's plastic. You don't want to crack anything. All right, so all intents and purposes, we got a functioning cartridge as of now. Besides the fact we don't have a AA battery in there for the rumble, but that's not necessarily necessary either. Now the fun part begins, okay? How are we solving the decals and the battery compartment? So that's the next step. And so after finding this cartridge in there in my drawer and kind of putting it off, because like I said, I had this in there for 15 years in my collection. I mostly loose cartridges, and they're in these big scrapbook holders that I picked up from Michael's. And because I already have a nice minty copy, I really kind of ignored this copy. And so I said to myself, oh, I saw it the other day. I said, you know what, maybe I could see if I can do something with it. And I said to my sister, she's really crafty. She's, always on making things in her 3D printer. And she's always doing things with her decals and stickers and logos on shirts and tote bags. She's a very crafty person, knitting, blah, blah, blah. I asked her, I said, do you think you could maybe make me a reproduction label? And I got the measurements. And I also got the, she was able to whip me up these very nice new labels. So thanks to a very nice YouTuber who I saw a video, he did a mod where he took the board and removed the entire need for a AA battery and 3D print a flat edition, so to speak, of the Pokemon Pinball. When I was trying to research the dimensions and everything for this, I stumbled upon it. And he actually provided a label. He actually went and made his own label. And that was very helpful. And unfortunately, I don't remember his YouTube channel name. But what I am going to do is I will make sure I put it in my description, so you have a link to him and everything. I thought that was a nice thing for him to do, to share. So even though he shared the label, he's I think he's from the UK, so his label had a European model number here. It didn't have USA, and since I'm in the USA, I wanted to make sure I kept things kosher, so to speak. So I asked her, said, I have this label that this gentleman made, and he also supplied the measurements, which was fantastic. It's 50 millimeters by 22 millimeters. And I said to her, do you think you could work with this for me? And she's like, sure, let me see if I can make something, everything on chat. So I gave her the link to the picture and so forth. So some of the things she fixed for me, which I asked her to do, just to build upon what he has already started. She swapped out the USA for, or excuse me, the EUR for USA, since this is an American copy of the game. And she also replaced the Nintendo seal of quality here with the American version of it. In the UK, they still use like that round one. Um, Old hats like myself, or people like myself, will remember back in the original NES era, leading into even up towards the Super Nintendo era, the Nintendo seal quality was a round, like circular looking thing, a little bigger, and they were still using that in the UK at the time and in Europe. So in the American side, they had converted over to these more oval looking ones. So she fixed that for me. She also replaced the E for everyone over here because I don't recall if his even had that. But me being the stickler for details, I wanted to try to recreate this the best I could. So she was able to abide to it. And she also gave me 4 of these to try out. So I'm going to do my best to put one of these stickers on here right now and hope I don't screw it up. Now, what I like to try to do is, I do this when I do Lego kits with my son. I try to use the end of this, and just that way I can kind of nicely lay it on there. I don't want any bubbles. I think that's as good as it's going to get. That's not too bad. That looks 100% better than it did before. So I think we're good with that respect. I think that's good. We're on there. And if I change my mind, I got a few more to work with. But that, for me, works pretty well, I think. I think I'm good. Not bad. Not bad at all. Probably could come down a little more over here, but yeah. The other one wasn't perfect either. A lot of the Nintendo stuff isn't dead on. So for the next step in this, we're going to be doing the battery cover. We can't forget that. So this part is the part I did myself. I went in, I have a bamboo A1 mini, and I popped out a cover. So these covers, you can get them on Etsy, but I already have a printer. I'm not going to pay somebody to print me something when I can just do it myself. The people want $5 to $10 for it, and I like to try to do things myself if I can. And I love using this printer. I got it for Christmas. What I did was I went and got matte black because I was trying to keep a uniformity to the original shell. You can see how it kind of blends in better with the shell. Regular PLA kind of has a shinier look to it, and this matte, you can see it's a lot flatter, and it kind of goes along with the aesthetic of the cartridge. I think it looks pretty good compared to regular PLA. This is matte PLA, and I went with a cheap brand, Hoger it's called. It was real cheap. I thought I'd give it a shot. The only problem with the matte PLA is it's a lot more brittle, unfortunately. So I'm a little concerned about these tabs over here. That said, the Nintendo official Nintendo ones are pretty brittle as well, especially in this day and age. As they've aged, they've gotten pretty brittle. So this kind of goes like this, in here like that, and then snaps on. One thing that's driving me crazy is this thing didn't print perfectly black. You can see there's a lot of like white. Let me see if I can focus a little better on it. Come on. You can see the white specks here. It's driving me crazy. It's under the light. You can really see them. I don't know why that happens on the printer. I don't know if somebody wants to maybe fill me in downstairs in the comments. I'm not much of an expert with 3D printing. I'm a noob still. But yeah, so this just snaps in like that. And there you have it. Looks pretty good. So I think that's going to work out very well. and I've given new life to this cartridge. But now, of course, we have the big test. Does it work? And for that, we're going to move on to the last and final part of this video. Alright, so we're back into the final phase of the video, and this is the testing phase. Now that we've done everything we've done, we've cleaned it, put a new battery in, applied a new label, and have a battery cover. I'm going to plug this into a Game Boy compatible device, a Game Boy, or in this case, I'm going to be using a Mod Retro Chromatic since I have that handy. I've been playing it a lot lately, and if you want to find out more about that, I have a prior video. So I did put a AAA battery in there erroneously earlier. I said it was a AA, but I got to like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a little smaller than I thought. So now we're going to put the battery cover back on, now that we have that battery in there. And it seems to be working pretty well. I'm really happy with it. Once again, I'll leave the links down below if anybody else would like to print one of these, and everything associated in this video I'm going to try to leave in my description below. So here's the chromatic. I'm going to plug that in, and let's see if she works. Looks like we've got ignition. This actually gets pretty loud. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see the screen. Got some nice pixels going on here. So obviously the Pokedex is going to be wiped. Not that there was anything on it prior, because the battery was changed and the battery was already dead. So I gotta be honest with you, I'm not much of a Pokemon guy. I've dabbled on it over the years, but you know, I was in my 20s when it came out. I wasn't a little kid, so I wasn't caught up in like the game from a nostalgia standpoint. I'm a 70s and 80s kid. But I do appreciate it. I think, and if anything, I love the side games. I tend to like the little side games. Pokemon Pinball, for instance. I know my buddy on Dual Screen Radio, Shane, he was a huge fan of Pokemon Troze, for instance. And I actually do like the Mystery Dungeon games. The originals were a lot of fun. I tend to like the Mystery Dungeon games. So what I did was I got the battery in. Let's see if it... Can you hear that? It is vibrating. So that's a good sign. Let's back out of here. And let's get some Pokemon Pinball going. So this is a pretty fun game. I mean, you basically launch pinballs and play pinball to catch Pokemon. So even if you're not a big Pokemon fan, I still recommend this game. It can be found pretty cheap. And the feedback's really neat. You get these little buzzes and bumps depending on how you're what your ball's hitting and how hard it's hitting it and so forth. I'm never good at playing games on camera, so excuse the fail. This is just demonstration. But one thing I would like to do is I would like to try to see if I can catch a Pokemon real quick, if it's possible, to see if that battery's working. Or actually, I guess what we could do is we can save the game and come back to it. I think that should be a pretty good way to tell if the battery's working. I think in order to activate the Pokemon catching, yeah, to activate, I took my fan off the thing. There's weeping bells. You have to get a ball into it. So I think what we're going to do is, for the sake of time, I'm going to save the game. Okay. I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to remove the cartridge a little bit, put it back in. We want to eliminate that memory that might have been there. And we're going to go in and see if it allows me. Ah, there you go. Continue. So that's a good sign. That means the battery's working, because now it's letting me resume where I left off. Because as far as I know, that's what the battery... I think the battery's required for that, right? Maybe not. I don't mean the AAA battery, by the way. I mean the battery in the device itself, the one that we replaced. You know, for saving games. I want to make that distinction there. Alright, let me see if I can forget that I'm filming and just play seriously for a second here. See if we can catch something. Almost. Yeah, I'm playing like crap. Let's give it one more shot. I've actually been playing this in bed all week through the flash cart. And I'm not normally this horrible, so... Because this never fails for me whenever I'm on camera. Alright, here we go. So, you gotta bump those things to get access to this Pokemon and be able to catch it. Oh. There we go. So now he's going to appear. And we have to bump him, I think, 3 times to catch him. 1, 2, 3. Four. Okay, now we've caught him. Let's lose the game. Okay. See if we can lose this game purposely here real quick. And then we'll go back in and test the save out. I gotta get rid of this ball saber. I mean, I'm assuming it's already registered that I caught it, but I want to be sure, so I'm just gonna. For the sake of time, I'm gonna pause this, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, here we go. So we're back here. We're going to go in the Pokedex. Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to scroll down till we find our weeping, it's Bellsprout rather. There he is. Okay. Alright. So we're going to shut this off. Plug the cartridge back in. Turn it back on. Go to Pokedex. And there he is. So the battery's working great. Game's working great. Everything seems to be working very well. And I'm really thrilled that this worked out. I got a new battery hatch, new label applied, cleaned it all out, new internal battery, excuse me. And yeah, this is great. And I'm not going to be selling this or anything anytime soon, so this will go into my personal collection as an extra copy of the game, which is fantastic. And once again, even if you're not a Pokemon fan, I highly recommend picking this up. So thanks again for watching, everybody. And once again, as well, I'll try to leave some links downstairs in the description so you can take a look. And if you're interested in printing this out, or to the links of the gentleman who helped me, gave me some info about the labels to help create them. I'm going to leave a link to his video and channel as well, if anybody wants to further look into this. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.